Coming up on this week's show, we celebrate 100 episodes of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. We pay respect to Lance Reddick and the gaming community that honours his passing. Sara gives her thoughts on the Diablo 4 beta. I give my review on Resident Evil 4 Remake. And Tears of the Kingdom shows off a slew of new gameplay systems. Hello friends and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast, the coffee morning show brought to you each week where friends hang out and chat about some of the latest stories going on in the industry. You can follow the show on all of your favourite platforms or watch the video version over on youtube.com/gamertagged. This is episode 100. We have actually hit triple digits, and joining me for all the bants today is the man with the personality of a can of orange tango, the king of the tangent, the epic beard. Look at that fullness. It's like the golden fleece, the myth, the legend, James McClellan.
Morning. It is a little bit, it's going subcritical at this point, so it's going to be, it'll just be the rest of the screen by the time I'm done. So.
I feel bad for audio listeners because they're missing out on just the sheer majesticness.
Oh no, that's a beard you can hear.
Face. Jeez,
yeah, I was going to say we can hear the beard. It's it's got such volume to it.
Yeah. How is your hey? How is your beard, Jamie? Like the texture of it. It looks really soft, but is it wiry? Is it really? It's like a fleece. Is it soft? Tell me about it.
It is surprisingly soft. It is actually surprisingly soft, and I have discovered. I would always see people with huge beards sitting there like that all the time, and I'm thinking, would you stop? Like, you're trying to, yes, you're ruminating, we get it, you've got a beard. But no, I get it now, because I sit here constantly like this, although partly also to try and tuck it away, because it keeps getting into, like, I can't have soup. Soup is off the menu. It's just
and for our audio listeners, when you said do this, you mean stroke your beard?
Oh, yeah. No.
Because they can't see.
Just stroke it.
You're missing out.
Picture someone very thoughtful. Let's be right now.
I imagine you don't even need a pillow because that thing is so voluminous.
Man, at this point, I don't need a blanket.
It's a cushion, isn't it? It keeps your face warm. It's like you're going to scale Everest and you're going to be fine. You don't need a scarf or anything or face mask because you've got the beard.
All I know is that I posted a picture on Facebook and the response I got from Alan was, "I want to live in your beard."
Well, we all do, to be fair. We all really do.
I dread to think what he's got planned. Yeah.
I'm assuming it does it join up with the chest hair as well, because that would just be too much. Like the never-ending pelt of fur all in one.
Yeah, I'm going to braid it into the chest hair, and then it'll just be. I will finally be full Yeti, and I will have achieved my final form.
An orange Yeti, incredibly rare species, the breed.
Yeah, there's not many of us left. We were hunted into near extinction by I don't know, the Jaffa Cake Company. I haven't really thought this through. I haven't come up with my own law yet.
You're endangered and a protected species, Jamie. That's it. Absolutely, absolutely. And joining us in the co-host hot seat is none other than the voice from beyond. You've heard her in titles like Rollerdrome and Goat Simulator 3. It's the ethereal, the spooky, the immensely talented, the BAFTA-nominated Sara Lynham.
Hello, it's me. We get to find out very soon about the BAFTAs, actually. It's this evening, as in Thursday evening, so...
wow.
Well, soon we might have to change the title soon. It might be BAFTA award-winning.
Shit. Yeah, I think we're going to have to.
Yeah, no might be about it.
I know.
Also, I wore a specific hoodie for today.
Pikachu! Wow.
And I technically look a little bit like a minion because it's underneath the...
Well, you chose the dungarees as the look for that as well, so it's
your
own fault.
It's a callback. It's a callback. You specifically told me on one of our episodes, you were like, "Oh, you're wearing the blue overalls, but you're not wearing a yellow hoodie underneath." I was like, well, I can solve that. I'll save it for the 100 episode.
God. See, I'd forgotten all about that. That's why you guys are the best. You're pros. You're switched on. You know exactly, what to surface and when not to. God, guys. 100 episodes. Can you believe it? Shall we just take a little moment before we go into our topics? We're obviously going to be reminiscing about the 100th episode. Oh my God, 100 episodes. That is wild. I started the show back in May or June of 2020. And I was going back through some of the old stuff. And the very first episode, it was just me. I didn't really know what I was going to do with the show. I was just like, you know what? I just want to kind of jump on, record a little bit about some headlines and things like that, and just like ramble. And then episode 2, I thought, yeah, that's probably not going to work. So I started getting some guests on, and that first year of its lifespan of the show, I managed to get a new guest, industry guest, every single week. But I think I got to like 52 or 54 episodes done, and it was just myself at the time, and I was so burnt out. I mean, I loved doing the shows and everything like that, but it was like the organizing, the coordinating, getting a new guest lined up, like 3 to 4 weeks in advance. It was stressful as hell, and I actually had to stop the show for a few months just to kind of regroup and recover. And that's when really the kind of the second wind of the show really took off, and that would have been what, 2021, something like that. No, actually, it would have been 2022, like beginning of 2022 probably. And that's when I went to Jamie to say, Jamie, you're a recurring guest. You want to do this all the time? You want to do this more often? And Jamie's amazing. Of course, he's like, yeah, of course we do, because it's fun. And then later on, we managed to get Sara involved, and that was the real kind of turning point to shape the show into something that was like hugely fun and exciting every single week. The three of us getting together. And I think, Sara, did you come on in like episode 70 or something like that as a regular thing?
Yeah, I think it was 76. I'm like casually browsing through to double check.
Yeah.
But I think it was like 6 months ago, maybe ish. Yeah, seems like longer, in that kind of way that, when you've known people for a while and you're like, actually, I feel like we've been doing this for years. But no, actually, the three of us haven't actually been doing it that long in the grand scheme of things compared to how long you've been doing the overall podcast anyway. Jeez.
I know, because you'd been a guest a couple of times on the show previously. I initially reached out to say, this person's a voice actress. That sounds cool. I want to talk to a voice actress and get her on the show and find out what's going on there. And then you came back for the group show where we had like 6 of us, and that was great. That was a really great kind of experiment for myself, but also something different for the show. And then it's like, Sara, do you want to be a regular? I'm sure you've got nothing going on. You've got all the time in the world.
Yeah,
do you want to be a regular as like a co-host? And you were like super up for it, and that was amazing as well to say, oh my God, okay. This could actually be the three amigos. And of course, the branding changed and everything like that, which I absolutely love. Our little avatars up there in the top corner.
Yeah. For
our video viewers. If you're an audio listener, you're missing out on the branding. Guys, sort it out. Go double dip your support. But I need to sort out some merch, actually. I really should have sorted out like tees or mugs or cap. Certainly for Jamie. A cap for Jamie is kind of essential, really, to have that.
Do you need a new one?
Yeah, but 100 episodes is kind of wild. I'm going to kick it over to you.
I'm repping my...
And you're repping the tee as well, the Gamertag Media tees. That's so cool as well.
Of course.
I had really good fun designing those. The Pokemon one is one of my favorites as well, actually. Like you've got a t-shirt as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna kick it over to you guys to say a few words about maybe like your favorite moments of this show, if you have any. It's okay if you don't. If you just hate the show, it's like, oh, okay, wow.
I mean, a very depressing 100th episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this whole time we've actually just been enduring each other's like presence.
Yeah.
Of like, yes, it's been a slog, hasn't it? Yes, it's been awful.
Yeah.
Damn, the show's gone to shit. Wow.
Sitting there, yeah. Any favourites? I mean, there was that time that we had to cancel. That was nice. And whenever we say goodbye, that'd be, oh Jesus, that'd be home.
I know.
I'd be like, that must be what it's like to record on Good Morning Britain.
man. Yeah. Sarah, what about you? Favorite moments?
I've got several favorite moments, but I would have to say, like, at the top of my list of moments is the Halloween episode where I painted my whole face blue. And Jamie had like blood, but it was like it started off as just a little thing, and then like there was just blood kind of everywhere, and I was like, "Is that still fake blood, or is that actually Jamie's blood?" Like,
it was 50-50 by the end. I think. I mean, my eyes hurt for like 2 days after doing that. It was such a stupid idea. Looked good.
It did look really cool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I think you said you had to answer the door as well, like that. And I can't remember. Well, I don't know if I'm remembering this in like a comedic sense. I was like, was it a Jehovah's Witness? And then you were like, and they never showed up again.
I opened the door. It was a delivery guy, and it wasn't even for my delivery, so the poor guy didn't need to experience that. But it's just over the door. It's like, "Hey, can I help you?" No, don't. No, it's fine. Okay, think about the time of year. None of this is well. This bit might be, and yes, I realise my eye is quite puffy. Don't panic. Just put the box down and leave. So,
oh man,
I was interesting, but yeah, I'm not doing that again for Halloween this year. I have an idea, but it's not that.
Oh.
Yeah, something that doesn't blind you or give you permanent eye problems would be smart. I like to think.
Ideally not that. Yeah.
That's when the headaches started. But
see, we've solved it. We've solved the problem where it all originated.
Medical mysteries.
Oh man.
I don't have specific favorite moments because I just like sitting down and talking crap with you guys. It's one of my. I've said it for years that podcasting is one of my absolute favorite ways to put out content. You know, I've written and I've recorded and I stream and it's all awesome. But I've always loved just sitting down and this sort of format. It's how we used to do it with ST back in the day, and it's how. It's just so much fun because you just sit and talk, especially when you get that when the chemistry clicks, which it did here. You know, and it did back in the day with obviously me and Al and the guys, and it's just you just get to sit and talk nonsense for a while. And yeah, I know, obviously, I have a tendency to go way off topic, but it's so much fun, and we get to talk about some really interesting stuff because there's always interesting stuff going on in the game sphere. And I think honestly one of my favorite moments ever though is recently, and it is discovering that there was a game called I Am Jesus Christ. That just tickled me. That was one of my absolute best days. I was talking about that for the next like 2 days. Like anyone who would listen, I was like, no, you right, honest to God though. I assume there's a moment where you have to pull out the nails, and I was just like, just everything. It was my entire life for like 48 hours. And I still haven't played it, but I intend to.
I still can't believe that's a thing, but here we are. I know. It's wild. And I think you're right, Jamie. There's been so many things that I think about that are been amazing moments. Yes, like the Halloween shows are tremendous fun, but like the Christmas shows are really, really good fun as well. But just having a blether and having no real idea where the conversation is going to go, and we end up just laughing our asses off is a weekly highlight for sure. And like life gets in the way sometimes, and we have to kind of postpone and reschedule and things like that. But that's the great thing is like we can, like, nobody gets ultra pissed off to say no, this has to happen. This is like treating it like a job sort of thing. And I'm sure there are plenty of shows that do need to kind of take that approach to make sure that they have a deadline to hit and, you know, get things published and everything like that. But we always kind of do our best to try and get a show out on the week kind of thing. And it moves around where it has to, but we're super flexible, and we've got such a great chemistry now as well, which we can almost record like anything at any time. We kind of like just jump onto the microphone and have a blether, and at some point we'll have gold during that recording session,
Yeah.
and it's that is amazing. It's really amazing because I don't know about you, Jamie, but I wasn't sure about Sarah when we asked her to be part of this. I was a bit apprehensive, you know what I mean? Because I've known you for years, but I kid. It was.
I'm out. I'm leaving.
I actually the only concern I had was I thought, oh, she's going to be way more professional than I am, because I am such a fuck up when it comes to. I mean, I have missed this, behind the curtain here, but we have had to postpone, or I've been missing from episodes because I have slept through them. So now, in my defence, because I'm dosed up to the gills on painkillers, and there's not been we had an early morning record, and I was unconscious. So, but I'm like, but it's not the most. I mean, you don't ever hear about, Dick and Dom would never miss a recording for being asleep, unfortunately. Sorry, that was definitely a segue, but Dick, I can't stand those people, apparently. It's been a running joke all this week, thanks to the news. But yeah, so anyway, I was like, oh, she's gonna be so pissed off. She's gonna be so pissed off having to deal with me. I'm woefully unprofessional. But it didn't work out that way, thankfully. I was like, okay, that's good.
I know.
Yeah. I'm super unprofessional. It's all good.
Yes.
I'm super chill. I'm super chill.
you never know with these BAFTA-nominated people if they're going to be like ultra pretentious and like ego-driven divas, and they're expecting like, where's my grapes? Where's my dressing room and changing room? Where's hair and makeup? Come on,
I've been
where's my
requesting
trailer?
this for weeks and you haven't been listening.
Exactly.
I require 3 bottles of sparkling water, each of them filled to a different level.
I would like a bowl of M&Ms, but only the blue ones.
That's a thing. That is a thing, yeah. Goodness, but thank God that Sarah joined the crew, and she's awesome, and it's just been going from strength to strength ever since, and I love you guys. It's been great. It's been great to do the whole 100 episodes with you, and goddamn, we've got even more to come. I hope anyway.
100 more.
100 more. Oh my God, I don't know if I've got the energy for 100 more, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's a little bit of reminiscing. We've had such a blast putting on this show for you viewers and listeners, and getting your support week to week as well is a key factor in making us kind of want to come back and shoot the shit with each other, and seeing what we can do with the show as well. But anyway, we've got some awesome things to talk about this week, guys. I'm not kidding you. We had the Diablo 4 beta, which we had a little bit of fun with. I didn't manage to get too much time with it, but I think you two did, so you guys can wax lyrical about that. Maybe Jamie didn't, but I think Sarah did. But judging by Jamie's painful expression here, I'm thinking I barely touched it. That was what I was gleaning from that expression. But I think Sarah was all over it, so we're going to fall back on Sarah for that. I am going to be probably ranting in the most worshipping way for Resident Evil 4, because that is out and I have finished it, and I'm now on my second playthrough, which for me is kind of unheard of. Usually when I finish a game, I don't always immediately go back for another run, but good God, RE4, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We are going to talk a little bit about the showcase that Nintendo just did the other night for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. There was a gameplay showcase, which is just looking so goddamn good. Oh my goodness. But first, before we get into that, I want to just take a moment to recognize the very, very sad news which came out, probably a couple of weeks ago now, of the legend Lance Reddick, Commander Zavala, to name just but one character that he's played in his illustrious career, sadly passed away. This was such a shock, and I think it threw everybody through a massive loop. Incredibly sad news. But what came out of that was something truly wonderful, and for the Destiny community, when the news was hitting the wires online and everything like that, there was a massive influx of people logging in, going to the tower where the character of Commander Zavala is in the tower, and just there was like dozens and dozens of players all in that space, just holding a virtual vigil of respect for the commander. And I had lapsed in Destiny. You guys know that as much as I like Destiny, I haven't really been keeping up with it. And I've lapsed for a while, but I immediately kind of re-downloaded it and jumped back in. And when you boot up the game, if you haven't done it before, it immediately plays a cutscene to kick off the new Lightfall campaign, and the whole thing is narrated by Lance Reddick. So that was the first thing that hit me when I booted up the game, was hearing him do this amazing monologue, and it really hit home to say, "Fuck, we've lost this guy," and he's been such a steadfast character, a pillar of this Destiny journey. He's like the dad in Destiny. You know, Ikora Rey's like the mom. Lance Reddick, Commander Zavala, is like the dad of Destiny, and it's been almost 10 years, 9 years, I think it is, of Destiny, and he's been a steadfast character throughout the entire Destiny journey. And to see everybody come together was really amazing, and it just goes to the power of gaming communities that can really come together in such a positive way. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now and kick it over to you guys for your thoughts on this.
Sad. It's like, it's one of these things where it's hard to know what to say, because for me anyway, I've not played any of the Destiny games, so unfortunately I haven't been even around for the building of that community and to see his effect on the Destiny world. But I, of course, have played other games where he's been a voice actor, and I really want to watch John Wick. That's another thing that he's been in that I just haven't seen. But like, for me, he was such a huge part of Horizon Zero Dawn for me, that was just like, oh my goodness. It's kind of like, I feel similarly to when Kevin Conroy passed away. It just feels like this kind of titan of a person who has influenced so many and created so many characters in video games and film and television as well. It just, it's like it's like losing a star from the sky, right? It's like a permanent part of the universe that we have that we don't have anymore, which is such a shame. But again, in a similar way to Kevin Conroy, we are lucky, we are privileged to have this legacy that's been left, and we can go back to these games. Like you said, Ross, you downloaded it and you went in and played Destiny, and I'll probably pick up, actually probably not Zero Dawn because I finished it, but I really need to go back to the new game. But I just, it's just really, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? And to think that like he could have done so much more because he was so young as well. Like, I think that's the bit that really gets me. It's like, you know, he's been in some amazing projects, but think about the projects that now he can't be a part of. It's a real shame. Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah, and obviously the future of the Horizon series as well, they're probably going to have to try and write around the character of Silence, because he was so not menacing as such. He wasn't really an evil kind of antagonist, but very much like a significant presence in that game that was kind of manipulating events and Aloy and stuff, and it was such a key figure. I haven't finished Forbidden West, so I'm not too sure where he fits into that, but I know it is a continuation of his role there. And I wonder if maybe like one of the last pieces of work we're going to get from him is like the Burning Shores DLC, and I think Bungie have already said that there was more stuff in the bag for Zavala that they had already recorded, which is still to come as well. So there's still a lot of experiences and performances that we get to celebrate for him, which is fantastic. It's the same with as you said, Kevin Conroy. We've got Suicide Squad to look forward to, which is one of Kevin Conroy's final performances to enjoy as well.
Mhm.
but all his TV stuff as well. I mean, I can't believe you haven't seen John Wick, Sarah.
I know,
Good
I
lord,
know.
good lord.
I know.
Oh,
So good. Such a good series.
I have a pile of shame for like TV shows and cinema that I haven't seen. So yeah.
I know. But I mean, Jamie, the Fringe, Fringe as well. He's in that. Tremendous just presence. Like his voice and his presence on TV as well is so profound.
He was you instantly recognized his voice in anything. Even, he's just very, very iconic and incredible delivery, incredible gravitas to everything he did. Like even the role in John Wick, the concierge that that he plays is such a weirdly pivotal role, despite being what seems like a smaller role. Is one of my favorite things about the franchise is him. And obviously, Keanu Reeves is fantastic. It's a great film series, but I love him so much as Sharon that it's such a cool role. Fringe was incredible. Fringe is absolutely one of the best TV series of the past 20 years. Like easily, it was phenomenal, and a large part of that is down to him. He plays this enigmatic, mysterious character that you kind of think he's on the good guy's side, but he might not quite be. And it's awesome. He delivered every role brilliantly, and so much voice acting. And Destiny, I played Destiny just extensively for the first sort of couple of years, 3 years, 4 years maybe of its life cycle, and he was such a huge part of it. And seeing so obviously to lose him is incredibly sad. Seeing the response from the community is amazing, and it's quite affirming in a way, because I have obviously ranted at length about toxicity in the gaming community, and I find it quite difficult to deal with at times. I play a lot of online multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
And you see an awful lot of not particularly good people, or at least not necessarily bad people, but people who just believe it's okay to be incredibly toxic and all that. So when you get this sort of response to it, it's a shame it takes something like this for it to happen, but when you get this sort of response to a thing, I remember seeing in World of Warcraft, in my early days playing it, I was part of a twinking guild, which sounds really strange, but they go to a certain level and then stop. And one of their members had a bad patch with mental health, and they did a day of just bits and pieces of fun activities in the game to boost him, but also one of the guys was streaming it, raising money for mental health, and they kept doing it year after year. They were coming together, and they had done this like a couple of years prior to my joining the guild. They kept doing it, even when it wasn't really being streamed anymore. It was just a thing that they all did to remember this guy who had to move away from gaming and things. So you do, whenever you see one of these, this upsurge of positivity in the community and respect and admiration and that, it's quite nice to. It reminds you that the majority of gamers are actually pretty decent people. We just have a very vocal, smaller subset of idiots. So it was a lovely response, and I saw a lot of people were streaming or posting clips of the amount of just all the vigil in the tower, as you said. It was nice. It was nice to see, and well deserved. Hell of a guy.
I saw a thing online who, I think it was a fan, but also a designer who had created this. It was like a 3D printed plaque of it's almost like the Han Solo in Carbonite sort of thing, but it's not quite like the terrifying Han is frozen in Carbonite. But it's a mold of Zavala with a shield and I think a sword in front of him on a plaque that was 3D printed, and that they're now kind of like trying to obviously sell them, and for a good cause, not just like purely for profit. But, it was things like, if you're a fan and you want a keepsake of a tribute to Lance Reddick, then you can buy this 3D printed thing that looks like it's like silver, it's been polished up and painted and stuff like that. And again, it's like another great thing for that community to have something as a little memento tribute to Commander Zavala and Lance Reddick to just to have, as a form of respect. And like things like that coming out of tragedy is wonderful to see what gaming can actually be, rather than all the headlines are the typical toxic stuff. But we don't get enough actually of the championing stories of the good shit that actually happens within the gaming community. And that's so wonderful to see.
Yeah, it would be nice to see the media occasionally pick up on those sort of things more, because as you say, the negatives always. I mean, bad is news, good isn't. And that's at the end of the day, that tends to be the way that these things run. But even little things like in World of Warcraft, there's somewhere there's a sign on a bench or something like that. I can't quite remember where it is, but it's a player who was huge in the game back in the day, and he sadly passed away, so they put him in the game. Robin Williams is in the game. There's little tributes to him because he was a big player of World of Warcraft, and so there's something in Sea of Thieves where a player was memorialized within the game. There's a lot of little things that are just the game devs will recognize people as well as part of their community. And obviously it's not just gaming as well, it's like the wider world. Like one of the things that obviously I have a often on hiatus career as a web designer, and every site that we've ever built has the GNU code for Terry Pratchett in the header code to the site because it's from one of his books that a man is not dead as long as his name is spoken. So they send his name up and down the line of the clacks in the thing. So all across the world, there are websites that have got Terry Pratchett's name in their header in their code for the site. Yeah, to keep him alive on the clacks. It's things like that it's simple little things, but it's nice. It's uplifting, and it's good things that come out of bad. So it's but very sad. Hell of an actor taken far too soon.
Definitely, but it's wonderful to remember fondly the achievements and the contribution to, from these figures that we have loved and admired for many, many years, and the work that they've given to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to our next topic. Sarah, tell us all about Diablo, the beta that you had to jump into. First of all, I want to know which character class you went, first of all.
Okay, so normally my go-to with things like this is someone who's like right in the front with the biggest weapon that they could possibly wrangle. So I was like, oh, barbarian. So I almost chose barbarian. And then I sort of looked around the rest of them and went, maybe I should go against type. We were going to play in a party with other people, so I checked what everybody else had already chosen. We already had a necromancer and a sorcerer, and Connor basically said that he was going to choose whatever I didn't choose. And I went, okay, so I could still go barb if I wanted to, but then I saw the druid. And I was like, the druid sounds really cool. And it sort of didn't... when I initially was reading it, it was talking about these sort of like animal-based attacks, which I was like, okay, cool. There's like a werewolf and a werebear, I think was the other one. So essentially...
A werebear. That sounds like Care Bears.
It does, but it's significantly less like cheery than that. Definitely more like mauling and tearing. But yeah, I was like, this sounds great. Like this sounds kind of like what I would be getting with the barb anyway, but it has like more of a magical quality to it. So I was like, great, I'm going to do that. And it was so good. I'm so glad that I went down that route. But then, before you've done anything else, you get to do your character creation. And, I love this sort of thing.
Yeah. Some
of the presets were really, really beautiful as well, like really well designed, and lots of really good inclusivity of like the presets themselves, sort of had a base sort of, there was like plenty to choose from. But the default for the druid, she's this like hulking woman, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's not just like it's not just a really chunky person. It's someone who's like super muscular, and I was like, this is great. This is like super cool. She looks like a total badass. Of course, I'm going to play her. And I gave her this cool like Nordic name and everything. Great, let's go. And the crossplay is actually really, really easy. You can build a clan together, and then you add people into your clan. You do the voice chat through the game. Everything was like super smooth, which I was so happy with. And the game itself, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. I played all the way through to level 20, because if you played through to level 20 on the beta, then you could get a little it's a little backpack with a baby wolf in it. And I was like, great. Obviously, I want that. So I played through to level 20. Sorry. But it's super adorable. It's like this little baby wolf in like a kind of like almost a full circle of horns, and he's just like asleep in a little red blanket. And I was like, I need that.
Yeah.
I don't even.
It's amazing.
Like, it's so good. I'll send you a picture so you can like be even more angry about it. But it's very, very cool. The gameplay is beautiful. Like the only issues that we had was apparently they took something out of the beta where you couldn't go full screen. You had to have a window.
Oh, okay.
Something to do with like, I don't know too much about the specs behind it, but
must be
it
an
did
issue
mean
with
that
borderless settings or something like that. Yeah,
I think so, and I think just for the sake of the beta, they took it out. I'm almost certain that they'll fix that for the actual game itself, because like as a result, it just wasn't quite as smooth as I wanted it to be. And I could normally, like on PC, because I was playing it on PC, I could lift the specs up really nice and high because I've got a strong rig for that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't for this, which was a shame. So I was playing it in a little kind of, Vaseline lens version of the graphics. So it was a bit kind of less satisfying in that sense. But the story is really interesting. Like this whole kind of, as you move around, it's not too much of a spoiler because it happens quite early on. As you move into the first city, there's a whole kind of like, there's a cabin out there that there's monsters in it. Could you please help us? We're just helpless townspeople. And then off you go and you do that and you come back feeling all heroic. And you're like, I did it. And they're like, great, let's celebrate. Sorry, we can't give you any coin, but we can give you like drink and food, and let's party. Losing my voice a little bit. But after that happens, and you sort of having a couple of swigs of your drink, and then the screen starts to kind of swirl a bit, and I was like, oh no, what's happening?
Yeah. You've been
and then you face plant onto the table, and like full cultist level crazy, they split second change to just being like still, completely still, having been like partying, and all of them are looking at you, and I'm like, this is really fucking creepy. And you get towed out on this cart off into this like barn, which is just covered in blood. You can see that someone's been pulling apart somebody else, and there's just stuff strewn everywhere. And I'm like, oh no, and I'm still asleep. This isn't good. I need to wake up or else I'm definitely dead. Oh my god, yeah. And that's literally like one of the first things that happens. You have your first quest and you come back, and then this town is just full of crazies. Which is great. And the cutscenes are so good, like dark and terrifying, and the opening cutscene is great. It's just this cinematic like moment of, why are we back here after having sealed away this horrible monstrous, this mother, this I can't remember what was her name, Lilith.
Yeah.
She's been sealed away. Why are we back here? Oh no, some dumb people have gone and summoned her again. But it's just a spectacular opening cinematic, and then all of the cutscenes that you see, because we also tried not to follow too much of the main storyline, so that when the game did come out, we still had plenty to play, because I think it was basically all of chapter 1 was available in the beta. But we went, let's level up with side quests so that we don't see too much of the story now. But what we did see of the story was really, really cool, and I cannot wait to play it. I cannot wait to get the full version and actually be able to play it and make it look how it's meant to look as well as the other thing. Yeah.
I managed to, I didn't get to play it as much as yourself, but I did manage to play a couple of hours on the private beta and then on the open beta. So I went Barbarian first of all, and I thought, yeah, big smashy dude, that'll be fun. But then for the open beta, I got an hour with Druid. and I think that's definitely going to be my main because it has the big smashy stuff, but there's also the elemental magic side to it as well. So
Mhm.
my character didn't get very high level, but I did get a couple like twin axes and things like that, and I could imbue it with like lightning, or I could imbue it with like the elements of earth and things like that. So having that stuff straight away was like made me feel like, yes, this is going to be my character, because I can just hit stuff really hard, or I can imbue my weapons with the elemental magic stuff already. It's kind of like the best, as you said, Sarah, the best of both worlds of like mage qualities, but also barbarian qualities. And of course, you can turn into a giant fucking bear, which is just badass as well if you really want to pursue that. But what I was super impressed with is like the skill trees. You get a little like a tease, a little snapshot of what the skill trees are going to give you in the full game, and holy shit, there's going to be tons of build variety depending on, like, for any class. Even if you're going the same class, you're going to be able to spec up your character differently. So even if you're rocking like 4 druids all together, you can have totally different makeup of skills and abilities and stuff like that as well. So that's hugely exciting as well for multiple playthroughs, multiple characters going all at the same time. I was really impressed with the graphics. I played a chunk of Diablo 3, but not like some people who have literally played like 1,000 hours, like Jamie over here for Diablo 3. I did notice though, and I was actually really thankful of how uncolourful, not that's a terrible grammar, but I'm just going to go with it, uncolourful the game is compared to Diablo 3, to the point where after the beta, I had a little bit of a hankering to play Diablo 3 again, and I thought, ugh, it's too bright and colourful. Ugh, I don't like it. So I stopped playing Diablo 3, and I'm just going to wait for June to come around so we can play Diablo 4, because that kind of more like photorealistic-y look to it is back to Diablo 2-esque kind of its roots, but it looks like graphically just looks so good, and you've got that depth of field effect where there's clearly like a blizzard going on, so you've got like the snow going across the screen, but it's got that depth of field blur effect over it, so it's not obscuring you, but it's giving you that atmosphere of, yeah, it's like it's heavy snowfall across the screen, but it's not really obscuring the center of the screen. It's just on the fringes of the screen, and it's giving you that depth of field, that layered effect between like the action on the camera, this kind of particle effect going on in the foreground, but it's not really intrusive, and it's just a very, very cool effect. And I played on both the Xbox Series X and most recently on the PlayStation 5, and I didn't have any real issues at all. The only issue I had was really trying to get like connected, like joining the queue and that kind of thing. But because it's a beta, that was to be expected. It was going to be absolutely hammered with hundreds of thousands of players all trying to connect all at the one time. So they had to limit the with long queues and stuff. But I got up really early on the Saturday morning, when the US is still asleep, and jumped straight in for our region, which was fantastic. So I'm sure they will get a handle on that for launch day, but buyer beware on a launch game that is network dependent. It might be difficult to get connected. There might be still queues and things like that. So bear that in mind. You might have a little bit of a problem getting logged in, and I am seeing a lot of conversation and a lot of angry rhetoric to say, well, why isn't there an offline mode? And it's because clearly Diablo is going more for an MMO style of game, and that's totally fine, but it is going to annoy you if you've just bought this game and like, why can't I just solo? Why can't I just go through the game solo if there's network problems? And that's I know answers I don't have the answer to, and that's going to be one for individuals to kind of overcome themselves and reconcile how angry that makes them. And I think I know Jamie's teeing up for a response here, so I'm gonna pass it over to him for this kind of stuff.
Oh, you're fine. Just ruminating. That's for the PS4. But no, I would. Yeah, Blizzard. I'm sat here wearing my Heroes of the Storm Cap. I have been spending all of my time playing Overwatch lately, and I'm back from World of Warcraft. I'm Blizzard's bitch, and I always will be. I took a lengthy step back, obviously with all of the controversy surrounding them, but gameplay-wise, I love Blizzard games. I love Diablo. I played Diablo 3 for God knows how long. I was heavily immersed. Played Diablo 1 and 2 back in the day. But yeah, the queue times and stuff, I have a bit of an issue. People complain about it. It's like, why can't I play this solo? It's like, because the game developers decided to make it an online game.
Yeah. And
if that's not for you, don't play it. It's as simple as that. People say, well, but I should be allowed to do... You have to hit a point where you have to sort of stop complaining about not being able to do something in a game. It's like, that's how it's designed and that's what the game is meant to be, and you have to just live with that and play it. And if you're not enjoying that, stop playing it, or at least stop complaining to me about it. But the one thing I will say is that Blizzard games have a lengthy history of terrible launches when it comes to wait times. I mean, there's not a single WoW expansion that I've been in on the release of, and I've been there since the latter days of Cataclysm, so I've been in for quite a while, and every damn expansion, it's been a case of, well, I'm not playing this tonight because I'm in a queue with 400,000 people, and oh wait, I've been bumped to 500,000, which makes no sense because the queue system doesn't work. So yeah, anticipate a rocky launch. And the reason for it is simple. They know that people will put up with it, so they don't put the money into upgrading their servers for launches for something that's going to come out every 2-3 years. Or in the case of Diablo, obviously with a much bigger gap. It's just it's not necessarily financially worth it to them, because we'll cope. We'll get there eventually, and then the initial glut of numbers will fall off somewhat, and you'll be in. So yeah, you're gonna suffer when it launches. It's gonna happen.
It's really
I'll be playing it a bit later.
Yeah, it's really a lesson for any multiplayer dependent game. Like, Destiny has always got connectivity issues when there's a major expansion gets launched, because there's a massive influx that was never there before, because it brings players back that have lapsed. It brings in new players because this is maybe their first experience of it, and so all of a sudden you've got maybe 5 to 10 times the user base all hitting the servers, which were never there before. And they just have to scramble to try and rectify that. And it's just the very nature of online dependent games. And I hope that it's not a massive detriment and a turn off to a lot of players that are just dipping in and want to play it, and then they're hit with a 3-hour queue. They say, oh well, delete this game then, because if I can't play it offline just to even sample it, then I'm not even going to persevere with it. That's obviously a negative aspect that hopefully won't be too prevalent, but I'm sure there will be some of that. But the beta, I think all the good word of mouth from the beta of those who did manage to get into it will hopefully be enough to say this is going to be in such a really good state. And Blizzard are now aware of how much traffic they not should expect, but could expect. Obviously, it's an open beta, so that's not really representative of all of those players are going to be buying the game. That's not accurate at all. But they should be aware of, there's going to be a massive surge of Diablo fans that are desperate for a new Diablo, ARPG fans that are desperate for a new action RPG game, that want to check it out and are excited for it because they know the legacy of Diablo, or they're just looking for something new. Maybe there's going to be gamers that have only played like the Paths of Exiles or Pillars of Eternity, and maybe have never really played a Diablo game, but now they're going to say, oh, I've heard like the granddaddy of this genre is Diablo, and there's a new one coming out. Now I'm going to hop over and check this out. So I think it's going to be, I have every confidence it's going to be in a good state, but as Jamie is well versed in his experience of Blizzard products, it might be a little bit rocky.
Yeah, there's no avoiding it. So, but it is just a case of bearing in mind that if you really want to play this game, just hang in there, because you're welcome to do what I do, right? Like when Shadowlands launched, and not Dragonflight, I came into Dragonflight late for once with WoW, and it was quite nice to come in and be able to load straight into a game. But when Shadowlands launched, I sat there on launch night complaining bitterly about and saying that really, you know, Blizzard, small indie company, why should they have the money to put up with? And I pissed and whined for a solid 24 hours and then got into the game and went, oh, actually, in the case of Shadowlands, I got into the game and went, oh, there's not actually that much content here. You've dropped the ball on this from Blizzard, but you can't win them all. But Diablo 4 looks fantastic, and it's Diablo, for Christ's sake. So just take the 24 hours of complaining and punch holes in your wall or call your neighbour a bastard or whatever it is you do to cope with. For God's sake, don't do any of this. I am not a guru when it comes to anger management.
You're not condoning this, yeah.
No. We're absolutely reprehensible behaviour. But, you know, get yourself a stress pillow, kick the crap out of it, and then in 24 hours' time, sit down and enjoy Diablo 4 because it looks brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, mate. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I probably will pick it up around that launch weekend, I'm sure. And I think I'm probably going to go PS5 on this one. I don't know why, but I'm probably just going to go PS5. I don't have a PC, so it's really Xbox or PS5. But the good thing is, as Sarah mentioned, full crossplay, which works really, really well at the moment. So it really doesn't matter which platform you're buying it on. So I don't know. It always comes down to, is there haptics? Is there any? Do they add anything of value, or is it just purely a bit of a preference thing at the moment? And I'm currently loved up with my DualSense Pro controller at the moment. So at the moment, everything is going so I can play with that. Even though my Elite Series 2 controller is phenomenal as well, but I'm loved up with the new DualSense Edge controller at the moment. So I've been playing everything on that. So I'm probably going to get PS5. But anyway, who knows? So, speaking of DualSense Edge features and haptics and stuff like that, let me talk about Resident Evil 4 Remake. Holy crap, guys. Holy crap. So, the haptics are in this game, and they're really, really good. They're a nice little additive, but before we get into that, how often do we always joke about this game is 10 out of 10 game of the year, and we throw it around like kind of like a mocking like being flippant about how much we're enjoying a game. But I have to say, this is an amazing 10 out of 10 remake. It really is. The game was already genre defining masterpiece back in 2005, I think it came out originally in the GameCube. So back then, it was not only was it genre defining, it was console defining as well. It was like when it came to the GameCube, that was a moment for the GameCube, and then the other subsequent versions were never as good. They were, even when it got ported over to the PlayStation 2, just not nearly as good as the GameCube version. But anyway, it's been out on every single platform, every single generation since. It's the age-old joke of what is Skyrim going to pop up on next? It's the same with RE4 was on everything, absolutely everything. But now we have the full fucking Capcom remake treatment in the new RE engine. You know, it started with RE2, which was phenomenal, but I can honestly say that this is their best remake yet. Visually, it is so good. I was trying to think, is it better? Is it visually better than RE Village, which is incredible, or is it not? And I waver sometimes between Village is actually better because it's the new game, but I don't know, RE4 Remake just looks absolutely spectacular as well. So I think it's kind of on par with that, probably. Maybe even pips it occasionally just because of the nature of the art design and the level design and everything like that. But how risky was it of Capcom to take the remake project and apply it to 4? Because 4 is such a seminal moment in the industry. But you know what? They fucking did it. They improved this game smartly and so impressively. Like, Leon can now move and shoot, first of all. That was all we really wanted. So let's be fair. If they had just done that and nothing else, being able to aim and shoot at the same time, move and shoot at the same time would have just been a slam dunk with the new graphics. But they have added in a Dark Souls fucking parry mechanic with his combat knife, and that already makes Leon feel far more capable, rather than, because there was never a dodge roll or anything like that. You had to really kind of ham-fistedly run around the zombies, where you think Leon would probably just punch them, or he would do something. He wouldn't just like tank control run around them awkwardly. But in this now, if one of the zombies is going to try and hit you or throw an axe at you, you can now like parry a throwing axe out of the air. This kind of stuff, or if they're going to try and like stab you with a pitchfork, you can do the parry thing. And there is obviously the question around, well, fuck, that makes it like way overpowered, or is breaking the RE kind of formula and flow. But there is the knife is breakable kind of thing, so you can't rely on it because it will break if you keep doing that. So you got to be smart. And then there's like the stealth ability as well. You can now crouch and sneak up, and then again using your combat knife. But if you go for the stealth kill, it will massively take off a chunk of the energy bar for the combat knife. So it's a really smart inclusion that is not a crutch. You got to really weigh up when to use it and when to kind of go for it. And I love it. And there is the ability, once you've finished the game, what my second playthrough is revolving around now is there's these little things in the environment. There's tons of side stuff, by the way. But one of them is to destroy these little mechanical statues. And they're all really like, the Capcom are bastards because they've hidden them in like the most obscure parts of the levels. So now I know that this is a thing. I'm on my second run, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going around to try and destroy them all. And there's one per chapter, and there's 16 in total. So once you've got all 16, you can then buy a combat knife. And when that combat knife is fully upgraded, it's an indestructible knife. So I'm going to aim for that. So by the time I'm on my third playthrough, I'll have an indestructible knife. And then I'm just going to fucking rampage like Rambo, knifing people and deflecting and being like a badass. But that's the cool thing. That I'll be on my third playthrough by that point, and therefore you're just playing it for fun.
Yeah.
But as part of your first playthrough, you've still got the upgrades to your weapons and your different you can increase the durability of your knife, so it's a little bit more powerful and a little bit more longer lasting. But you've also got your gun upgrades as well. Like the variety of weapons is classic RE. Like you've got like a crossbow gun, you've got your rocket launcher, you've got your sniper rifles, you've got your handguns and the SMGs and everything like that. Classic RE stuff. But now this is where my memory gets super fuzzy, because I don't remember if there was weapon upgrades in the original or not. And if they've added that for Remake, or if they were always a part, like you could upgrade the ammo capacity, you could upgrade the power, things like that, the reload speed. I can't remember if RE4 had that originally or not. So maybe one of the listeners or viewers can put in the comments if they had that or not, or if they've added that system for Remake. But anyway, they've overhauled the crafting as well. So you can do the classic drag the item and put it over and combine it with another item, which is always a bit ham-fisted and a bit obtuse. Whereas now you can bring up the suitcase, you can tab along to your crafting menu, and you just select the thing you want to craft, and it just crafts it. It just makes it. So there's quality of life stuff, which is just fucking good, just so good. And it just means that you can just get back into the action and back in with saving Ashley, the president's daughter, of course, who is not a complete dumbfuck in this version of RE4 either. Like running around getting caught all the time, and the escort missions, and oh my god, they've completely overhauled Ashley, so she's not nearly as annoying as well now. She doesn't have her own life bar anymore either, which is great. So even if she gets attacked, she'll go into this kind of down state, and you can run over and you revive her by just clicking the thumbstick. It's a single click as well. It's not like a press and hold and a meter or anything like that. They've just streamlined so much and improved so much that they've made not only the definitive version, but they've made it better. And that is such a wild thing as well. And why I'm classing this as probably my front runner for Game of the Year already is because there is a degree of nostalgia for me, of course, as well, because I loved the original, and then they've made this so good and so much better that it's like, well, yeah, this is I'm actually going through again already immediately, and then I want to go through a third time with my indestructible knife when I eventually get it, and then there's the other challenges as well, and the other little side missions that they've added to it as well, which are challenges to like destroy the meadows, or there were wind charms in the original game, and now they're kind of like medallions, and you got to find them and shoot them and destroy them in each of the environments. But there's other things as well, like kill the rats, or there was this one where there's a rabid dog and there's this creating chaos in the village, and you have to, should you choose, to go take care of that dog. And it's not a fucking dog, it's a ginormous like werewolf thing. You know, it's not a typical dog, it's like this ginormous hulking zombified dog that it's like a challenge, you know. So they've added all this stuff to it as well around the main stuff. And the merchant, I remember there was a big thing around the merchant say like, what are you buying? And they'd replaced him. They'd replace, and so he doesn't ever say that anymore, but he's still very entertaining, and he's proper pirate, Jamie, as well. He's like, he's clearly a pirate, and to just reinforce that he is a pirate, they've done at certain parts where you encounter the merchant, there's like this elevator. Don't question it. Don't question the logic as to why there's a random elevator next to the merchant. There just is, okay? A part of the level, there's an elevator that you go in, and you go upstairs. I think it's upstairs anyway. And there's this pirate-themed shooting gallery. And it's a whole mini game of target shooting, which they've added. And it's like a score attack. You get the rankings. So you could just spend hours doing that and doing all of that stuff. And if you pass or get a high rating, you get a little like a circus coin sort of thing that you drop into like a Zoltar machine from Big, Jamie. It's like you put the coin in the machine and then you get given a charm, okay? It's like a little keyring charm. And depending on if it's like gold, silver, or bronze, or I don't know if there's a higher rank because I've never been able to get a higher than gold token, it will increase the rarity of the charm you get. And you can put these charms, you can put 3 of them in total, you can attach them to your attaché case, and it will give you a little buff to say it will, like, you'll craft more rifle ammo, or merchant prices will be 15% lower. So there's this whole other subsystem that they've added to the game for that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, fuck, they didn't just remake it with prettier graphics. They've added things to do and really clever little side activities. It's so good. It is so good, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're a horror fan at all, an RE fan at all, you have to buy it. They did such a good job, and I could gush all day about how much fun I'm having with it, because it's fucking perfect. It is so perfect. Like, Leon feels better to control now. And even back in the day when you can shoot an axe out of somebody's hand, or you can shoot a flaming torch out of somebody's hand, or you could kneecap them, that I remember back in the day that reactiveness to where you're shooting them felt brand new. And even here, it still feels incredibly fresh and engaging, because you're deciding what to do on the fly in the moment. And that is where, like, the Dead Space remake excels as well, because you're dismembering the different limbs from the necromorphs, and you're deciding on the fly in the moment how best to handle the situation. And the fact that we've got 2 games that are like 15 and 20 years old respectively, or around that, as 2 of the best games of the year for 2023 is wild. But it just shows how seminal these games were for their day, and how they improved the genre. And the fact that they're back in both of them in this incredible coat of paint, but also improving. So like the Ishimura in Dead Space, they improved the structure of that, because the whole spaceship is now seamless. So they improved it there. RE4, they improved it with like other mechanics and other things to do. It improved the gameplay. It's like staggering and awesome. that we've now got these options as gamers. And man, what a great time. What a great time to be a horror fan. So good. It's so good. And it's so ridiculous as well. I remember RE4 being a kind of turning point where 1 to 3 were very much on the zombies in Raccoon City and a bit grounded, a bit more I won't say realistic, but it wasn't. It never jumped the shark, okay?
If not.
But RE4 goes in such a direction where it completely fucking over the top jumps the shark, and it's just amazing because of that. And of course, that was the start of the series going downhill before it got itself back on track with RE7. But RE4 is that pinnacle moment of perfection for the series, and the fact that it looks this good, it plays this good, and there's so much reason to come back to it for multiple playthroughs. And before I forget, the Mercenaries multiplayer mode is dropping soon, actually, like next month, I think it is, or in a few weeks, as a free update for the game. I can't wait to play the Mercenaries mode with the new graphics and the new combat systems and everything like that. Oh my God. So good.
So like a 5 out of 10?
Yeah. Don't know if you like it. Do you like it?
Very mid. Very mid. Yeah.
Piss poor, really.
Yeah. Try harder next time, Capcom. Come on.
I have struggled over the past sort of few years with the amount of games that are getting remade. And the bunny ears for those who are listening are slamming into place because there have been a lot of them. I'm just like, you don't need to. There's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of games that I don't necessarily feel companies need to make money, so I'm not going to complain about companies cashing in on nostalgia, but there are cases where it is very much that's what they're doing, or they release a collection of stuff, and it's great, and it's a nice way to have it on a new platform so you can still play your old games. But for me personally, it's like, well, the money's worth is not really there for me. I've got the game already. I can go back and play it. They haven't done enough to... Everything I saw from RE4, I was like, oh my God, they basically, it's like someone took Dickens and said, I'm going to rewrite it, but it's set in 2022 now, and it's real good, right? And so it's definitely on the list. I spent a blissful weekend at a friend's house when RE4 was released, just watching him play it. Yeah. And that was my first experience of it. And then I went back and played it. It was years later that I actually sat down and played RE4 for the first time. I loved it. And it's a phenomenal, like you said, it was a turning point for the series, because I always think there's a given value of realistic within the confines of the universe it's been created in. Yeah. And 1 to 3 were very much that, just sort of standard zombie fodder, brilliant examples of it. And I love that Nemesis was my favorite of the 3. But yeah, 4 just such a good game. So, and all these little features, and I think that's the right way to do a remake like this. Take it and go, hey, it's still the game you love. I've just punched my microphone, sorry. It's still the game you love. We've made it prettier. We fixed all those problems. The fact that Leon can move and shoot,
just something so simple.
Mwah. Yeah. And we've done all those things. So there's quality of life. So you get to go back and play the game that you love, but it's going to look nicer and it's going to feel nicer. And by the way, we've added about 60 billion random things you can do while you're in there, because you know this game, but now we've hidden shit for you to find. Like that is absolutely, that's how you pull me in. So it's like the Snake Eater Golden Fogs tucked around the level and stuff like that. It's like, that's how you pull me in. Like, give me something weird and random I have to go look for in a game I already know and love. Yeah, set, job done. Yeah,
it's outstanding. And, I will say a pro tip if anybody's playing on a console. I can't speak to the PC version, but apparently it's there's some kind of niggly graphical issues, but on PlayStation 5 anyway, I'm playing on resolution mode with ray tracing turned off, motion blur turned off, hair physics, or whatever the fuck it is, turned off, and chromatic aberration turned off. And with those settings, the game has been perfect. Like, absolutely perfect. It looks amazing because the resolution mode is a bit sharper, but because you're turning the ray tracing off, which apparently the implementation isn't very good anyway, With that off, you're still getting like a perfect frame rate of the 60. So if you're on console, I would recommend those settings for the best experience that I've found, because performance mode takes a lot of those things off, but it's just a bit softer, the image, whereas resolution mode would normally turn all of those on as well, and it can give you maybe not a great frame rate, but if you just kind of tailor it a little bit in the graphical settings to have that stuff turned off, then you're getting a pristine image, and it's super smooth for me anyway, and that will probably give you a better experience overall. So just a little pro tip there if you're on the fence about which, picking up and what to play on.
In fact, can I add something to that? Pro tip generally, turn motion blur off. It shouldn't fucking exist. I detest it.
Mm-hmm.
Never have motion blur on. If you have motion blur on and I catch you with motion blur on, we're going to throw hands.
You're not a fan of motion blur, Jamie, at all?
Is anyone? Do you know anyone who's sitting there going, I wish this game had more motion blur? I've never met that guy. Ever. Nah.
See, some implementations are pretty good, but other times it's too aggressive. Like I like a slider where you can put it down to like 2 as opposed to 10. And therefore, when you're whipping the camera, it just softens the pan a little bit, and that's really good. That's useful for my eyes, I know, because I've got old fucking eyes. But other times, it's way too aggressive, and it looks like Vaseline's everywhere, and that's awful. I'm with you there. It's like really bad. But I was playing Last of Us 1 Remake, and by default, it's on 10. And I took it right off, and I was turning the camera, and I was like, oh, it's actually too sharp. It's hurting my eyes. But I put it to 2, and just turning the camera, it just like took the edge off it. It buffed off the roughness just a wee bit, and it was really good. But typically, I'm with you, turn it off.
Should that not be the default of how it works as it turns anyway?
Should. I know
but we
it should.
don't need the settings. See, it's like saying, okay, I want to be a little bit on fire because I'm cold, but not really on fire. And then you realise that you could just have the fire on and sit near it anyway and be warm.
That's true.
So, and not have the horrible effects of being on fire. I'm not sure my analogy holds up, but generally speaking...
Poetic. It was poetic. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. I appreciate that. So that is a very long way of saying RE4 is amazing. Go buy it, because it's fucking good. Really good. Anyway, right. Who's excited for Tears of the Kingdom, The Legend of Zelda, the sequel to Breath of the Wild? We got a 10-minute or 13-minute-ish gameplay showcase. And Sarah, I'm gonna kick this to you for first impressions of what you thought of the improvements to the new systems and skills, and also the world that we got a little glimpse of.
Yeah, that was a great video. I really, really enjoyed it. What I really liked most about it was this kind of like alluding to the fact that there is a lot that has been built upon the previous like game and the universe that it's in. But they're not going to show you everything in this video. They're just going to show you a few really, really cool things that they've added. Like this whole concept of being able to reverse time on items in order to access these like sky lands that you can go to as well. Like, you know, it's not just ground level anymore. There are literal like floating areas that you can access. And the way to do that they show you in this video is you see a piece of rock that falls off, like an edge of this sky area that falls, and you go up to it and use your like reverse like powers that you now have, which is that's so cool. And you literally stand on top of this rock and you travel with it as it reverses back through the fall that it just went down. Like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that they showed was really cool, but I have to say, the fact that they've included this like concept of crafting, that the way to navigate the world by either building your own little raft or to the point where you can put like a fan on the back of it in order to move it through the world, or like build an actual sail, and it implies that like as you access more things throughout the world that you can build and you can hone that to the point where literally there was like a sail that was built and it looked like a full-on boat, almost akin to I've just forgotten what's the one where it's all on the water. Is it called Wind something?
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker, that's it.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's kind of combining these two worlds together, and it just expands the way that you can access things, because there's a point where it shows you a sort of building of a like rudimentary raft, but the idea is that because you have a stamina bar, you can't actually swim across something.
Yeah.
So you use your talents to build a little raft, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then to go further into that, you can actually build and modify your weapons, which is nuts. That's so cool. Because one of the things that I struggled with, and I always struggle with this in games, is durability of weapons. And it can turn me off sometimes. And I'm like, oh no, that's really frustrating. I'd like to just pick up a weapon and then find a better one later, and it just or be able to put my XP into it to make it better. But being able to pick up something and go, okay, well, this tree branch isn't very good, but if I attach it to a giant boulder, then I have like a makeshift hammer, which has more durability, and it gives you incentive to explore the world and add something to a couple of things, or like combine. I think at one point it was like a giant spear, but it also had like a rake on the end of it as well. And on the character model, it was like he was teeny tiny and his weapon was like 3 times the length of him, and it was just like, that's comical, and I love that. I love the idea of being able to stand like several meters away from a bad guy and just like poke him with a fork. Like, yes, I'm here for that. I'm here for building my own weapons as well. It's just, I love that. It's very cool. I think it's going to be really good. I think that like improved like improving of durability and making things a little bit more accessible in that way is really appealing, because I didn't finish the previous one because I encountered such issues with the durability stuff. So I really hope that these improvements and whatever else they have tucked away, make for a really cool game. I'm very excited. I think I'm gonna have to get it.
I'm the same as you, Sarah. I bounced off it pretty quickly because I just got sick of everything breaking all the time, and then going through weapons. Going through good weapons and then getting bumped back to like a rusty iron sword, which is like a level 1 weapon all the time. I'm like, oh, come on. I just want a really good durable weapon to stay with me. And I think this is their answer to that in a very clever way, whilst also retaining that core gameplay of, no, we don't want to just get rid of durable weapons entirely, but we're going to make it more creative and fun for the player to create their own weapons. And that's hugely exciting. And when you were talking there about the raft that they made, I just had a thought, and that we're all going to be making like air pirate ships, aren't we? We're going to be having these most ridiculous, over the top creations for transportation and weapons. And once this game launches and we start seeing what the community is going to be putting together, is going to be ridiculous. There's going to be a giant penis airship going across the skies. We know that's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. Day one, exactly. But
always day one. Anything penis related, day one.
I know. But the skills about turning back time and things like that, which is, I'm looking at the report here. It's called Recall, but that is going to be. You just know that there's going to be like the challenge dungeons and things like that are going to really embrace and utilize every single one of these new powers. Manipulating time is an age-old mechanic in video games for puzzle solving, and we saw it recently when I talked about the Entropy Center, which is like Portal but time manipulation, and that was just hugely fun to try and solve puzzles but in reverse. So when it plays in real time, as the sequence of events that you've been doing backwards now plays forwards and all that kind of weird shit. That's going to be really, really good fun. And I can't wait to see what Nintendo are going to do with like the fuse ability, which was the weapon crafting thing, the Ultra Hand, Ascend looked wild and really powerful, because if there's any ceiling that you can see within a cave or building, even if it's 200 feet above you, you can just literally like morph through the fucking ceiling, and then you're on top of a mountain instantly. Like, what? This
it
seems
looked
like
absolutely
really
mad.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, surely, like you say, it seems quite OP. I'm like, how is there going to be like a limit to how many times you can do it? Are you going to have to, I don't know, pay some sort of cost somewhere? Because it just seems super powerful. It'd be really interesting to see how that pans out.
Especially because the first one was so prevalent for Link's stamina bar. So, and it's something that I actually really, really liked, because you had to really look at like a cliffside or a mountain or an obstacle and really think about your route up there. And is there a little ledge halfway up or a third of the way up that you can pause and then start again as your meter? And it made even just climbing more engaging. And I think that's where, for me anyway, Assassin's Creed has kind of faltered a bit, because just climbing in the parkour has become so automatic and formulaic that it's less engaging now. Whereas when I went and played Breath of the Wild, I thought, I'm actually having to engage and pay attention to climbing things and being engaged in the world and choosing my routes properly, rather than looking for the white paint on handholds or whatever, whatever most games kind of do. You would think it would be so frustrating to be dependent on a stamina meter, but they managed to implement it in such a way that it was engaging and you had to pay attention. Whereas this feels like it's a little bit flying in the face of that, but it only works if there's like a cave or something like that. It's not going to be too heavily abused, I would imagine, because they still want it to be a harmony of all the things that came before in Breath of the Wild and add to it, rather than replace it or be too overpowered and the old systems are redundant now because we've got this new thing that we can just abuse like crazy to get onto the top of a mountaintop. But it just looks like a lot of smart decisions, and it's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
I need to get a Switch and
yes, you do.
Create a brand new pile of shame.
You do. All the Mario games you're missing out on, Jamie, and all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Zelda games you're missing out on.
I miss Mario terribly. I need to go back to my roots of spending 24 hours sat in front of Mario Sunshine. Like, come on, I can do this. I can do this.
I know. Luigi's Mansion is a favorite of mine as well. I think you'd love that. It's Ghostbusters, but Luigi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played a bit because both my kids have got Switches, and so I play a little bit here and there. I played a bit of Breath of the Wild, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I love the Zelda games anyway. Although they peaked with Ocarina of Time. I will die on that hill, but as good as Breath of the Wild is, I just really love Ocarina of Time. But the Ascent was weird. That someone was playing an old school platformer when they were developing that. Because that's very much because it's like on platforms that you run along and you jump up through and we never questioned it back in the day. You just jump through a ledge and you're on it.
Yeah.
Someone was obviously playing that and went, guys, I've got an idea. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
You're going to jump up and headbutt a ceiling and then suddenly you're on a cliff. What? I don't know. I've been up for like 6 hours playing Lion King on the SNES and 18 hours prior to that coding, and I have drank so much caffeine I can taste colours. So, but don't worry, it'll be fine. And then they somehow made it work because it actually looks like it works. So the fusing thing as well, though, I love. One of the things I love about that was the fact that when you fusing the branch to the boulder with that, I was fully expecting when I saw him do it for it to be like, oh, you do that, and look, I've got a stone hammer, almost like a crafting mechanic that is done on the fly.
Yeah.
But you don't. You literally have a rock on a stick. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then he beats the ever-loving crap out of a construct. Like, okay, I'm on board. And did you see the construct that had like a sheet of plywood on a stick? Mm-hmm. And it was waving it, but it was causing winds and knocking it back. And it knocked it off the level and stuff like that. That's awesome. So,
like the physics in the first game was tremendous. It was more an example of systemic design and amazing physics in a Zelda world or Legend of Zelda world, and it seems like they're just going to town with that now, of creating your own things to just fuck with the world. And it just looks so good.
So no, it was a beautiful video.
Did you appreciate the fusing the eyeball from the bat onto the arrow, and then you've got homing arrows?
Oh yeah,
as well.
Yes.
What the
Because
fuck?
that's
Seriously.
game logic, isn't it? I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. It's like, and again, I don't know what about Metal Gear on the mind today, but one of my favorite things ever is the what was it called? The Patriot gun, I think, in Metal Gear 3, where
Okay.
it's got infinite ammo. You have to unlock it, and it's for it's for going back, so it's fair enough. But they explain it by saying about, yes, the magazine is shaped like an infinity symbol. Well, oh, right, well, fuck it then. That makes sense.
Of course.
I love game logic where they'll throw something at you and they'll put in what sounds like an explanation, but if you listen to it, you realise, no, it's not. Perfect.
Amazing. So not long to go. May 12th is that game is launching. So that's going to be a little payday treat. I think it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Anyway, folks, that's it. That's our show. That is episode 100 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. That's wild. Here's to another 100 episodes, guys. A huge thanks to our viewers and listeners, our friends. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We love doing it. We love shooting the shit and chatting about video games and just doing this every single week. It's great fun. But until next time, guys, take care, happy gaming, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.